Athletes, staffers at Children's Hospital clear one exhausting hurdle after another. The name of the game here is saving lives.
Well, it looks like the staff is getting pretty worn out because they don't know what events are coming. But at Children's Hospital, the Pediatric Disaster Resource and Training Center tries to stretch the limit. We want to force our staff to think about things that, unfortunately, not a lot of us think about.
This is all part of the 7th Annual Disaster Olympics, a time for first responders and staffers here at Children's Hospital to practice emergency situations before the real ones hit.
In this scenario, it's a large earthquake with a 5th grade class.
And prioritizing who gets treated first and who can wait. The victims are played by students from nearby Los Feliz Elementary School.
We're triaging, which is to sort all of our patients that you see behind us. All the tarps are different colors of severity of injuries, with the red being the greatest and the green being the least.
City fire officials say in a real earthquake, crews will likely be too busy elsewhere to respond immediately. So it's up to hospitals, businesses, and schools to know emergency escape plans, first aid techniques, and other basics, and to practice them often. The kids also learn that cool heads prevail.
If there's something bad happening, don't panic.
So this is an event really for the community. We want the children as well as our staff, as well as the folks helping staff these events to learn to be prepared, stay vigilant. You never know when something bad's going to happen.
At Children's Hospital Los Angeles, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Now, the LA City Fire Department urges hospitals, schools, and churches to practice similar preparedness drills at least once a year. Well, did you know that going green can save you money? Well, just a few small changes at home can make a big difference, not just for your wallet, but for the environment as well. And it's not as hard as you may think. As part of LADWP's program to spread the word about energy efficiency throughout the city, the department joined with the community of Boyle Heights to show low-income residents that it doesn't always take money to save money.
To really get the word out to the community about the programs we offer in energy and water efficiency, as well as bring together the community for a fun afternoon of music, food, and events.
The Eastside Solar Festival, held at the Mariachi Plaza, was a chance for the LADWP to encourage energy efficiency by offering free low-flow shower heads and sink aerators to help residents reduce water usage.
But we also are in the process of rolling out a program to give every household in the city 2 free LED bulbs. Those are high-efficiency light bulbs that use very little energy. Over the next 6 or 7 months,
city agencies, local businesses, and nonprofits also took part in the effort.
We are implementing a program on behalf of the South Coast Air Quality Management District that provides between $4,000 to $9,500 to residents that live in low to moderate communities towards the purchase of an advanced technology vehicle such as a plug-in hybrid or an all-electric vehicle.
Even the live entertainment was earth-friendly with a 100% solar-powered stage.
We have bundles of rebates for electric vehicles, as well as programs for solar panel installation for low-income families. We want to make sure that we democratize our climate change policies.
Irrespective of who they are and where they come from, especially our children and our community members and our elders in Boyle Heights. They deserve to breathe into their lungs clean air. Yes or no?
Absolutely! Officials sending a clear message that everyone can help LA meet its clean energy goals. For programs and ideas on how you can go green, check out ladwp.com. Well, the biggest party of the year brings together some of the biggest names in music. Get a taste of all things Japanese during an annual event and a food festival that'll satisfy all of your cravings. All this in this week's Things to Do. America's biggest block party is back in 2016 with 15 shows in 13 cities. And it's our turn during the first weekend in October. The Mad Decent Block Party features a lineup that includes Cascady, Diplo, Kesha, Dylan Francis, and more. There's no better way to kick off the fall season than with your favorite performers. So don't miss out on this year's Mad Decent Block Party taking place on Saturday, October 1st at Los Angeles Center Studios, located at 450 South Bixel Street. For more, visit maddecentblockparty.com. The Japanese American National Museum hosts dozens of vendors with jewelry, kimono fabric fashions, handbags, ceramics, origami and glass art, and even dog fashions during the 8th annual Kokoro Craft Boutique. At 1 p.m., you can catch a drum performance and other entertainment. Proceeds from this boutique will benefit the museum's education programs. It all happens in Little Tokyo on Sunday, October 2nd from 10 to 4 p.m. Celebrating the foodie culture that Los Angeles has become known for, Eastside Food Festival is a gathering of the best and rising stars from LA's gastronomic scene. The festival supports local sustainability, featuring locally owned and operated businesses, including more than 30 local vendors, including restaurants, celebrity chefs, caterers, locally owned brands, and more, with a focus on the evolving and diverse scenes of LA's East Side. So bring your appetite on Sunday, October 2nd to Max Sennett Studios, located at 1215 Bates Avenue. For more, visit eastsidefoodfest.com. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kay, and from all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Illegal dumping? Call 311, the toll-free number for non-emergency services. 311, your one call to City Hall.
My mom kept telling my dad to clear the brush from around our house because it was a fire hazard and clearing it could save our house someday. My dad kept saying he would do it someday. Then someday came, and it was too late. Don't wait until it's too late. Clear the brush now.
Don't worry, Patty. This isn't going to hurt me one bit. Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Shapiro in beautiful Encino, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel. Open wide.
Sergeants, call the members. Members, I only need 2 members. We can begin today. Right now, if you're in your offices, report to the council chambers. If we could call Mr. Rue's office, Mr. Koretz, Mr. Okay, I need one more. Mr. Koretz has arrived. I need one more. Mr. Rue, Mr. Weezer. Wait, I see. Is that Mr. Harris Dawson? Yes, it is. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, September 28th. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Mr. Clerk, we do have a quorum. Would you please call the roll? If we could turn on his mic.
Blumenfield, Bonner, Buscano, Sodillo, under Harris, Dawson, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Martinez, Farrell, Price, Rue, Weston, 10 members present, and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Koretz moves. Mr. Price seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Ms. Martinez moves. Mr. Cedillo seconds. Continue.
Items 1 through 11 are items for which public hearings have been held. Please note that a motion is required for recommendation number 2 of item number 9. And lastly, a committee report for item number 2 has been submitted and circulated for council's consideration.
Special members. Okay, let's prepare to...
Pardon me, sir. I understand that Ms. Martinez would like items 2 and 9 called special.
Let's hold those items.
How did you read my mind?
Let's hold those and prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Continue.
Thank you, sir. And those ordinances will go over to October 11th and for a second read unless reconsidered later with 12 members.
Thank you. Continue.
Items 12 through 17 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body. Do you have cards?
Yes, sir. Cards on all items.
Okay, we'll hold those. Continue.
Very good, sir. That brings us to items 12 through 23. They're items scheduled for closed session. Would you like to hold them on the desk?
I'm going to defer to Mr. Krikorian at this time. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. Items 18 through 23.
Very good, sir.
Yes, items 18 through 22 are recommendations for settlement that have been considered by Budget and Finance. The committee recommends approval of the city attorney's recommendation on each of those matters, which can be considered in open session. Item 23 will need to be considered in closed session.
Okay, so why don't we hold item 23? We will go into closed session on that item. And let's address 18 through 22.
Very good, sir. For item 18, in the case entitled City of Los Angeles versus Travelers Property Casualty Company of America and Zurich America Insurance Company, there is a recommendation to implement a settlement whereby each side agrees to dismiss its respective complaint and cross-complaint and bear its own costs and fees. For item 19, in the case entitled Pascual Zambrano et al. Versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $500,000 in settlement. For item number 20, in the case entitled Youth for Environmental Justice et al. Versus City of Los Angeles et al., there is a recommendation to expend $230,000 for attorneys' fees and costs. There's a request to send this item forthwith as well. For item 21, in the case entitled Shalem First et al. Versus City of Los Angeles et al., there is a recommendation to expend $3 million in settlement. And for item number 22, in the case entitled Richard K. Diamond as trustee of the estate of A.J. DeBellis and Victoria Colette DeBellis versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $1.25 million in settlement.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on those items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, that brings
Thank
us
you.
where?
And forthwith on number 20, please, Mr. President.
Without objection, so ordered. That brings us where, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, it's a bit too early for the special meeting, so that takes council to presentations, items called special, or if you wish, you may reconsider items 3 and 4, the two ordinances.
Okay, now I want to call up Mr. Previn for public comment. Mr. Previn, followed by Mr. Walsh. Where's Mr. Previn? Please come forward, Mr. Previn. Give him 4. He's on items 15, 16, and public comment. Are we having a problem with the clock? No, we don't. Okay. All right, Mr. Previn.
Thank you, sir. It's Eric Previn from the 2nd District, Studio City. Item number 15 caught my attention. It's a little sharing program with with UCLA for some city data, which I think could be interesting. But I think that the City Hall has to look at their ordinance, I believe it's either 2117 or 27.17, which has to do with giving various protections to entities that pay tax to the city that make those records not disclosable. And I think that as we share so much city data with UCLA, I think this one is to outline how the implementation of the minimum wage is going to affect going forward. I think we just need to be mindful of the public's right to know and for transparency. And it's dodgy stuff because people want to remain private. We hear about all this hacking and stuff. So I just hope that that's not washing through too quickly and that people have looked at that MOU very closely. Obviously, these are our treasured partners, UCLA. Supervisor Yaroslavsky and former council member, we get it. Item number 10, sir, I think that before you approve all these terrific Mills Act properties and contracts, I would recommend providing in accordance
You're
with
on
the
item, Mr.
Sorry.
Previn, items 15, 16, and 17.
Okay, you're not taking comments on 10?
No, Mr. Previn, I'm going off the cards I got from
16,
you.
sir. Let's not get into any. I don't think that's appropriate, sir, given the tenuous hold-on power. LADWP,
No, why don't
Mr.
hold his time. Mr. Previn, stay on the subject.
Sir,
go ahead.
It's an interruption. Do not.
No, I tell you what, Mr. Previn, you want to forfeit your time for today?
No, I do not.
Then why don't you just speak on item 16?
Trying to introduce the item. LADWP is getting the opportunity and authority to have a little party on December 13th up in the Tom Bradley, which I, of course, support. I think that's an appropriate use of that facility, and we look forward to it. If they could just simply pay the $232 like everybody else does, or whatever that is, plus 40% to commemorate their additional wage that they take. Item number 17, sir, thank you. This is the city surplus giveaway of the day that you are dusting off from a previous generation when Mr. Labange was in the House. I have not had a chance to, and we're not finalizing this, but we are moving it aggressively forward. and that is, of course, consistent with your plan for it. I don't know exactly why and what the related actions are. I assume you're going to give it to a not-for-profit or lower the price to almost barely perceptible so that somebody could do something good in that space. And thank you for that effort. Now, is it almost time for my general public comment? Or I wanted to ask about item 23, your illegal closed session today, because there's so little information that it worries us.
Mr. Previn, you have to stay on the items that you filled out on the card.
Right.
If you would like to go into your general public comment, you can do so.
Should we discuss my City Watch article with my brother from the other day, or not now?
You can go into general public comment.
And do that. Okay, I'll do it. Thank you, sir. Before you move forward on item 10, though, today, I just asked...
No, you stay on the general public comment.
This is my general public comment. This is loud.
You can't speak on the items that are on the agenda.
Well,
okay, go ahead,
yeah,
Mr.
exactly.
Previn. Go ahead.
We're going to uphold portions of the law today. 39 Mills Act properties, 15 out of CD10. Gesundheit, sir. That is a nice opportunity to designate a number of properties, and we do appreciate it. But we do need to see the underlying data. I've discussed it with Bernstein and Geisinger. So if they could simply provide that, then in a week or two we could provide approval for all of these great contracts. And obviously I'm a preservationist. Blumenfield is a preservationist. We're all preservationists, sir. So let's not beat around the bush on that one. In conclusion, I've got 20 seconds, so it's going to be tough. I admire you a great deal, sir, but I don't feel you're authorized at the moment to serve as a CD7 council member representative, and I know that there's been a little discussion about that. I would ask that you consult with Holly Wolcott and the city attorney, and we could move forward appointing someone, which is appropriate, and I think you should be the help pick that person. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, before I call the next speaker, Mr. Clerk, you want to deal with the ordinances?
Very, very good, sir. Those we should first reconsider items 3 and 4.
Okay, this first vote is on reconsideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Now let's vote on the items themselves. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Walsh, items 12, 13, 14, 16.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or blogging at J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. Number 12, Rent Escrow Account Program. As I've said, I've been a renter in this city since 1966. Since 66 and then since 76. I have no problem with the way I think you do a fantastic job. And when you do a fantastic job, I am the first to congratulate you. I'm not one of these white guys, you're all a bunch of crooks. No, I'm not that kind of old white guy. We have plenty of them, though. Number 12, the next one is number 13, and that concerns reinstating the rewards. The rewards are a joke. You haven't paid out, I think you paid out one reward in the last 10 years. I mean, Koresh has been getting up and bragging about this reward, and it was a white guy who ran over another white guy. It wasn't an Hispanic who murdered a black or a black who murdered an Hispanic, because nobody's going to give you any information, because snitches get stitches. And if I'm wrong, just give the press the 15 or 20 or 30. You post about 150 rewards every year, and you almost never pay off on them. And then you fought one person on the payoff into court. Next one, street vacation. Okay, vacating an alley. There's only one reason they vacate an alley. That's taking public property away from us. They vacate it because the person who's building the high-rise right next to where you live, which is probably going to be, although they're running out of space east of La Brea, now they're going to start going west of La Brea. Vacating an alley, you know how much this property is probably worth? Several $million. But all a developer has to do is give you $500 or $600. Your ass is bought very cheaply. And number 16, This is the DWP is holding a party. Have you been watching the news? The DWP is the worst water and power company in the world. Our big pipes are bursting, and all you're interested in doing is canceling bus service so people will take the expo. That's all you're interested in. We see absolutely nothing happening at the DWP except corruption. And now you're putting they're going to have a big party. And you know what they're going to do at the party? They're going to toast the fools who don't listen and get rid of the DWP. We must get rid of the DWP and bring it in. It doesn't belong as a separate agency. The pipes are 50, 80, 90 years old. You see what they did to UCLA. And what are you doing now? You're having a big party and laughing at UCLA and how you drown the students. You can take back your 30 seconds, and I'll go into public comment.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, give him his minute for public comment.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org at J. Walsh Confidential. Measure M on the ballot. I know the ballots are, we're going to be voting pretty soon. The ballots are coming out for the people who vote by mail. Measure M, we call it Measure BM. This is a 1/2 cent sales tax on every damn thing you buy. How long? 10, 15, 20 years? How long? $1 billion, $1 trillion? No. Forever. Forever. After, when your great-great-great-great-grandchildren die and their children have to buy a casket, they're going to pay Measure M. They're going to have to pay for Measure M. And once you give them a forever tax, and even the MTA split on the vote. Once you give them, there'll be another one and another one. And it'll be up to 15 or 20. And, you know, Trump may be a psychotic.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Clerk, now we can vote on items 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So if, Madam Clerk, if you please, that's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. If you would please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, if we could recess the regular, move into the special.
Very good, sir. Blumenfield, Bonabusca, Cedillo, Englander, Harris, Dawson, Weezer, Carrasco, Crane, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rue, Weston, 12 members present. Sir, that brings us to today's item 24.
Okay, and on this item, Mr. Rue, I want you to pay attention on this one. On this item 24, we will continue this item until Friday. And so with that said, we can adjourn the special, return to the regular.
Very good, sir.
Okay. I'm looking for Mr. O'Farrell. Mr. O'Farrell, do you want to begin with your presentation? Yes, sir. The floor is yours, Mr. O'Farrell and Mr. Rue.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone, to the 18th annual Deaf Awareness Month. I'm joined by my colleague David Rue, and here in the city of Los Angeles, we pride ourselves in celebrating the richness of cultures that make us one of the most diverse cities in the world. 18 years ago, the mayor and city council realized that there was a unique and thriving community in our city that had not received the attention or recognition that we have equally afforded other groups. That is why the city officially designated September as Deaf Awareness Month in the city of Los Angeles. Joining me in this collaborative effort is Chair of the Mental Health Committee, that's Councilmember David Rue, who has a special presentation to make. Mr. Rue.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman O'Farrell, and thank you for bringing this to the Council. And as chair of the city's Health, Mental Health, and Education Committee, I am very proud to co-present today's presentation with you to celebrate Deaf Awareness Month. And I really want to thank Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell and the Deaf Festival Planning Committee for all your hard work in organizing this month's festivities. It is estimated that 3 million deaf and hard of hearing people live in California alone, with 800,000 in the greater Los Angeles area. The deaf population in America has made so much progress through laws promoting equality and educational advancement. However, there are still challenges to living in the mainstream hearing society. For example, accessing quality education and services unique to the deaf and hard of hearing students, securing employment and job opportunities, and even accessing common daily activities like driving, technology, or traveling. That's why today and this month is so important to recognize we need to continue advocating for greater resources for the deaf and hard of hearing community.
In honor of this month-long celebration, we'd like to recognize exemplary individuals who have contributed to the deaf and hard of hearing community and will also serve as our Master of Ceremonies for the 18th Annual Deaf Festival. Let me talk about our first honoree, Daniel Durant. We recognize Daniel Durant for his outstanding contributions to the arts and deaf and hard of hearing communities. Daniel moved to Los Angeles in 2012 to join the Deaf West Theater production of Cyrano, and has been lucky enough to stay and continue to work as a professional deaf actor on stage and television. Titles include Deaf West Theater's production of Spring Awakening and ABC Family's Switched at Birth. Daniel has received numerous awards and recognition, including the 2016 Theater Award, Outstanding 2016 Broadway Debut Performance, Broadway.com's top 10 show-stopping performances of the 2015 and 16 Broadway season. In 2017, Daniel will join Norwegian company of Teater Manu and travel for performances in Norway and France. His ongoing work includes co-leading acting workshops for deaf students in area schools, as well as national speaking engagements for colleges and universities. So Daniel Durant, Mr. Rue and I would like to present this certificate of award to you for your incredible contributions to this community. Daniel. You're welcome. You bet. Sure. Our next honoree is Trishelle Edmond. Trishelle, born to hearing parents, and is the only deaf, hard of hearing child in her family. She landed her first television guest starring role on House MD, and in 2009 performed in the deaf choir in the pilot season of Glee on Fox. In 2014, she auditioned and landed the role of Martha Bessel in Deaf West Theater's production of Spring Awakening. And in February of 2015, Trishelle performed America the Beautiful with John Legend and the national anthem in American Sign Language with Idina Menzel at the Super Bowl 44. In September of 2015, Trishelle made her Broadway debut in Deaf West Theater's production of Spring Awakening and performed at the White House commemorating 25 years of Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, and the arts, a celebration of diversity and inclusion. Trishelle, thank you, and you are our second honoree.
Thank you. Thank you.
To further highlight this talented community, there was a T-shirt design contest. Now, the winner, Jovan Henderson, I understand lives in Moreno Valley. He's a high school student, so he's in school and couldn't be here. But look at this incredible design that he came up with for the 2016 Deaf Festival. Isn't it just beautiful? Look at that. So congratulations, Jovan. And now I'd like to invite Mr. Ryu back to the microphone for that special presentation.
Thank you, Councilman O'Farrell. And at this point, I want to recognize someone special who has advocated on behalf of the deaf and hard of hearing community in my district, who is also a constituent in my district, and that's Larry Bazell. Growing up in rural Louisiana, Larry was the only one in his family and community circle who faced deafness. At the time, the education system did not recognize the difference between deafness and learning disabilities, which are two different groups requiring different approaches in regards to education. Among the many issues, he advocated for systematic education change for this community to ensure that the services and quality of education for the deaf and hard of hearing students are up to par with that of the hearing community. In addition to his advocacy work, Larry is also an actor who received multiple awards for his stage work in New York and Los Angeles, portraying characters in hearing and deaf worlds. Larry, thank you for your work and for your advocacy.
Larry, there he is.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. The celebration of Deaf Awareness Month, which is this coming Saturday on the steps of City Hall, that's October 1st, Saturday, October 1st, the 18th annual, as we have already said, takes place, and we invite everyone to come. It's a great event. It's a regional draw. It's not just the city of Los Angeles, but it's the entire Southern California region. We're proud to say that Deaf Festival Los Angeles is the largest festival in the entire United States honoring this community. And that is a huge, huge accomplishment in and of itself. Now, this festival has many supporters. And as you know, none of these events ever come together all on their own. It takes incredible volunteerism to make them work. And I'd like to acknowledge the unwavering dedication of these contributors. Department on Disability, Department of Cultural Affairs, Los Angeles County Supervisor Hilda Solis, Bertha Velasquez, Richard Ray of the Department on Disability, and the Deaf Festival Committee. So big round of applause for all of those making this happen. We have an outstanding general manager on disability, and I'd like to bring him to you, and that is our friend, our partner, our advocate on all things in the disability community, and that is Stephen David Simon. There you are. You bet.
Thank you, Council Members O'Farrell and Ryu, Mr. President, Council members. I think we all know that in this city we have a lot more commemorative months than we have months of the year, and I think communities all across Los Angeles appreciate that recognition, but I think it's particularly memorable and meaningful to the deaf community and its allies, because for us, awareness isn't just talking about community, it's educating people that this is actually a culture. And the Deaf Festival this weekend celebrates that culture, and as you heard, is one of the largest celebrations across the U.S., if not the world. So we're very proud of that. I wanted to, again, thank you for thanking Trishelle, Daniel, Larry, and Jovan. They've raised this awareness on television, on the stage, and even on T-shirts, and it makes a huge difference in moving forward and understanding deaf culture. I wanted to do one more thing here, which is just to announce to you at Council that earlier this month I sent a memo to all my fellow city department heads asking them to partner with the Department on Disability to roll out video remote interpreting across all city departments over the next 2 years. This will be an extraordinary tool to work with live interpreting, to work with captioning, to ensure that the deaf community has full access to city services, programs, and facilities. We're very proud of that, and we hope to see you this Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Stephen, thank you. Now, see this symbol? This symbol here? What does it mean? Do I have the right one? Oh, thumb. Okay. I want everyone to do this because it means love. Everyone in the chamber, do this. Come on. It's easy. This means love, and that's what this is all about. So let's have a lovely festival this Saturday, and it's all about love of one another and respect for everyone's talents, disabilities, and differences. Congratulations and thank you.
I'd like to recognize Ms. Martinez. Item 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to welcome my good friend who's been, we're voting on this item this morning, our new appointee to the Public Works Commission, Luz Rivas, if she can please join us here at the table. I'd like to apologize. I'm fighting off a bad cold, and I know Ms. Rivas also has a cold. So my voice is a little groggy this morning, but thank you so much for accepting the responsibility to serve the City of Los Angeles. I know we heard you speak in Public Works Committee on Monday. Mr. Buscaino unfortunately had a funeral this morning, so he couldn't be here. So I will be doing the introductions, and I'd like for you to share with our colleagues a little bit about yourself and what you think you would bring to the Public Works Commission.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me here today. I have been an engineer, electrical engineer by training, and I did that in industry. I've worked in STEM education. I've worked to bring more diversity and more gender equity in the STEM fields through my work at Caltech, at USC, lots of other organizations. And so I'm excited to bring that to the Board of Public Works and work with the city's engineers, the city's people that work on projects. I'm very excited about the innovation that is being done in Public Works. And I love technology. I love new innovation in city public works projects. So I'm very excited for that too. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Ms. Martinez, and I'm struggling from that same cold. I do not see any additional speakers on the queue, so we defer back to you.
Thank you, colleagues. Ms. Rivas is being way too modest. I wanted to say a little bit about how we know each other. We graduated from San Fernando High School class of 91. We have several of our high school friends that are here in the audience. Thank you guys for coming. Go to San Fernando Tigers. We also have our high school teacher, Mr. Reza. Can you please stand and be recognized? He's been such a role model to all of us. And such a pleasure that he's always so committed to being here for his high school students and making sure that he supports us in every milestone of our life. I just want to recognize you. Ms. Rivas also has her sister here with her nephews. If you can please stand up, and her mother, I'd like to recognize them both. Thank you very, very much for being here. Colleagues, so many times you only hear the bad stuff that happens in our neighborhoods, but you rarely hear about the amazing people that come out of some of these neighborhoods. Luz was raised in Pacoima from immigrant parents, graduated from San Fernando High School in 1991, was accepted to MIT, where she received a graduate degree of science and electronical engineer. She then pursued a master's in education from Harvard University. She went off to work for some of the biggest companies in the country, but she came back to our neighborhoods. And she founded Do It Yourself Girls in 2011, and it has served over 1,200 girls in our community. And what Do It Yourself Girls is a program that increases the young girls' interest in STEM. And the reason that's so important to us is a lot of us who are in non-traditional careers, like politics, like engineer, like math and science, we seldom don't see little girls like ourselves growing up and thinking that you can become an engineer, or that you can go to MIT, or you can graduate from Harvard. And so Luz has dedicated her entire career to making sure that little girls that look like us see themselves in us and one day aspire to become engineers and the next leaders of STEM. And for that very reason, I think Luz not only brings the qualifications to the commission, but talent and experience in the work field. She will be the only engineer to serve the commission at this point. I think the last commissioner who was an engineer was Ernie Cárdenas, and that was many, many years ago. So I want to thank her for taking up the challenge and never forgetting where you come from. And we expect great things from you, and I know that you are going to represent us very well, not only in the Northeast Valley, but on the commission. So I want to thank you, Luz, for allowing us to nominate you and having you here today and serving the residents of Los Angeles. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And with that, Mr. President, I'd like to call for the vote.
Okay, on this item, let us, Madam Clerk, if you'd open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Did you want to deal with item 9?
I can take up item 9. Is item 9 before us now? I think there's a card.
It has not been circulated.
Not yet.
Okay, let's go for a minute. Let's go to general public comments. Sean Murphy, if Sean is here. I think it's Amina Miza. Please come forward. Yes.
Yes, good morning, Mr. President. I forgot to mention when I was here the other time, I've been in city council for 8 years, fans, 8 years. 2008, I came to city council for the first time because due to corruptions. I've been here for 8 years. We need to keep our sidewalks clean. Everybody's going to miss Vin Scully. I watched the whole Dodger game for the past 3 days, and it won't, Dodger Stadium, I might as well tell you, Dodger Stadium won't be the same without Vin Scully. He did an outstanding job.
So do I have, I think it's Amina. Please come forward. Then I have a Jim LaFente, maybe Carol Smith. S.D. Chandler, please come forward. Yes, please identify yourself.
Good morning, President Wesson. My name is Amina Mirzakazi. I'm the Executive Director of the Los Angeles chapter of the National Lawyers Guild. My colleagues and I are here today to speak to the Council about its passage on June 14, 2016, of a resolution in support of AB 2844, which was a proposition, a bill to penalize critique of the boycott, divestment, and sanctions, to penalize the critique of Israeli policies, specifically criminalizing the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. Yesterday, we submitted a letter to every council member. It would have been in a folder. There were also attached documents in support of our concerns about the resolution, which very clearly was an affront to our constitutional principles of free speech. Attached to our letter was Assembly Judiciary Committee legal analysis and other items. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If I could have the next speaker please come forward and identify yourself.
Excuse me. We're not having 2 or 3 minutes now?
No, it's never. General public comment is 1 minute.
Huh. Carol Smith. We believe that many of you were unaware that the resolution you passed on June 14th to support a March 28th version of Assembly Bill 2844 had much earlier been gutted in the Assembly because of constitutional infirmities. Why was the March 28th version you supported thrown out by the Assembly? It was gutted because the Assembly Judiciary Committee's thorough analysis found that penalizing protected political speech presents serious and perhaps insurmountable constitutional problems. The City Council was unaware of the April Judiciary Committee's report. Councilmember Blumenfield was aware of it. Thank you. You were aware of it. You did not provide that to the rest of the City Council. The City Council voted on something that had already been gutted by the Assembly. I'm sorry that we only have 1 minute.
Thank you. Your time has expired. If I could have the next speaker, please come identify yourself. And again, I'm looking for a Miss or Esther Chanley, Karen, Paul We or Paul He, Oscar Muhammad, and Jacqueline Richardson.
My name is actually Esty Chandler, and I represent over 6,000 supporters of Jewish Voice for Peace here in Los Angeles. It's a stunning inversion of free speech principles that instead of recognizing political boycotts as requiring the highest form of political protection from government interference, as the Supreme Court has done repeatedly, Assembly Bill 2844 casts certain of them as special target for government scrutiny and even criminal prosecution by fabricating an utterly unsubstantiated link between criticism of Israeli policies and unlawful discrimination. As the representative of over 6,000 supporters of Jewish Voice for Peace in Los Angeles, I'm here to make it clear that we reject the assertion that BDS is inherently anti-Jewish. For many Jewish Americans like myself, the lesson of never again means that never again shall we let oppressed peoples languish alone. We feel an obligation to speak out and to use the rights and privileges we have to help lift those who seek the same freedoms we enjoy. Thank you.
Next, please come forward.
Good morning. My name is Karen Pally. I'm here to talk about the City Council's support for AB 2844, a bill that criminalizes protected political speech criticizing the policies of a foreign government, Israel. I grew up in Los Angeles during the McCarthy era, so I know what it's like to be deprived of the First Amendment right to freedom of speech. And I'm shocked that the Los Angeles City Council wishes to return us to those terrible days. I'm especially shocked that the Council approved a resolution supporting the original version of the bill without reading it or knowing that the Assembly Judiciary staff had found the bill unconstitutional. In its original form, it would have affected my work as a consultant in public health and housing to various municipalities. The bill in its present form talks about preventing discrimination against Jews. But which Jews does the law protect and which Jews does it harm? And how will you distinguish between them?
Thank you. Thank you so much. If I could have the next speaker come forward, please. Identify yourself.
I'm Pope Oscar Muhammad.
Go ahead.
Okay. But anyway, the Los Angeles law enforcement should have 6-month drugs and alcohol tests. We should remove the homeless from downtown Skid Row. We should give them a ticket and a lunch sack and send them back to where they come from. They sent here from other states. They're not American. They're not Los Angeles natives. We should have a most cleaner environment than the environment where we live in. We should have affordable housing. We should have affordable housing. We should have fair distribution of the wealth. We should have accountability in our government. We should bridge political responsibility. Our government do not give us any responsibility. We have very high unemployment. High unemployment creates poverty, high poverty, unproductivity. Many nations have lost their commercial trade. America lost their commercial trade. And one scripture said, travel through the land and look what happened to those before you.
Ms. Richardson.
The question is, does Russian criminal law
different from American criminal law? I don't know. But it seems like there are some differences, such as in marriages. I'm not sure, but I believe in Russia they're allowed to have more than one wife. In America, if you have more than one legal wife, you're subject to penalties because they call that bigamy. In America, you can only have one legal marriage going at one time. I believe in Russia you can have more than one marriage going at one time. You have to check that with them. I don't really know. In Russia, I believe men are allowed to get single women pregnant, as many as they wish. I don't know what kind of law that is. I don't know if that's immorality or whatever you want to call it. In America, that's a no-no, but I don't know what penalties they attach to that. I have no idea what penalties, because so many people do that. In Russia, I'm not sure about if they're...
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Okay, Mr. Clerk, has item 9 been circulated? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So it's now before us. We can vote on it, on this.
So that would be item 9 as amended by 9A.
Okay, and I do have a card on that. Mr. Murphy, item 9, Sean, on item 9.
Thumbs up to you. Item 9, I am kind of against this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let us prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Mr. Clerk, that brings us where?
Mr. President, that brings council to item 23. It's an item scheduled for closed session.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the sergeants to remove, well, we're going into closed session. We do have a card. We're going to go into closed session. So if our sergeants could be prepared. In fact, the card, that person's time is done. So, sergeants, if you could please remove the individuals from the council chambers, only one staff. Yeah, it's only...
Okay. Mr. Clerk, let's resume our open session meeting. What's before us?
Madam President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
Okay, those are posted and referred. Mr. City Attorney, did you want to make an announcement?
Only that no final action was taken in closed session.
There was no reportable action taken in closed session. Very well. Members, are there any announcements? Any announcement, members? Seeing none, can we all please rise for adjourning motions? Mr. Blumenfield?
Thank you. I'd like to adjourn in the memory of Shimon Peres, who passed away yesterday at the age of 93. Mr. Peres served previously as the Prime Minister of Israel 3 times and the President of Israel. He also held practically every position in the Israeli cabinet. He won the Nobel Prize for his work to broker a peace deal between the Israelis and the Palestinians and was recognized around the world as a proponent of peace. His story is that of Israel's, and took hold as he was one of the founders of modern-day Israel in the War of Independence in 1948. He was first elected to the Knesset in 1959. His political career spanned over 6 decades. And throughout his career, he was always there to serve the Israeli people. One of the more notable moments was in 1995 when Prime Minister Rabin was assassinated. Mr. Peres stepped up to lead his nation, continuing to pursue the peace that cost his friend his life. And after retiring from being president in 2014, he didn't quit. He continued to devote efforts to finding peace in the Middle East by establishing the Peres Center for Peace. We would be here today if we all listened to everything that Shimon Peres did in his career and that he did for Israel. I'd like to end with something that President Obama said upon hearing the news of the passing of Mr. Peres. As President Obama said, quote, "There are few people who we share the world with who change the course of human history, not just through their role in human events, but because they expand our moral imagination and force us to expect more of ourselves. My friend Shimon was one of those people. He was guided by a vision of the human dignity and progress, and he knew people of goodwill could advance it together. He brought young people from around the world together because he knew they could carry us closer to our ideals of justice and equality." A great statesman was lost, and may he rest in peace, and I ask we adjourn in his memory.
Thank you, Mr. Blumenfield. Anyone else on my left? Mr. Koretz?
I just wanted to add to that he was one of the very few that was involved in Israel from before its creation to his last day, and he is really the person most responsible for advancing the peace-loving concept of a two-state solution, both in Israel and internationally. Unfortunately, he was never able to successfully implement that, but it's certainly my belief that that is the only possible end to all the strife for literally many centuries in the Middle East. We remember him and thank him for that, and hope to see in our lifetimes that actually implemented.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz. Mr. Krikorian? I think we're good. Okay, well then that concludes our adjourning motions. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.